Hi everybody, welcome back to In the Kitchen. I'm Zach Runyon. I'm the kitchen cook instructor at Erskine Green Training Institute. Most of you tuned in for our scrambled egg video last week. This week we're going to teach you how to make hard-boiled eggs. So we're going to follow the same steps and processes that we followed last time, which means we're going to collect our ingredients and we're going to collect all of our kitchen equipment first. I also have my recipe pulled up again on my computer so that I can follow along with the step-by-step directions. Feel free to pull this up on your computer or print it out as well so that you can follow along with me while you're watching this video. So, like I said, the first thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to collect my ingredients. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot to do hard-boiled eggs. So we only need 2 eggs, got 12, just a tiny bit of salt, water, which I'm going to get from the faucet, and ice cubes, which I'm going to get from the freezer. I'm going to leave the ice in the freezer until I actually need it so it doesn't melt. So I have all my ingredients. Very, very simple, small list of ingredients. Now I need to collect my kitchen equipment. So I need a stove. Daniel was again nice enough to let me borrow his stove for the day. I need 2 pots. So we've got 1 pot that we're actually going to use for boiling. And if you'd rather use a mixing bowl or something that's this size that can be used to store eggs in with ice and water later, feel free to use this. You could use another pot if you wanted to, but we're going to put our eggs in here later when we're cooling them down. Also, we need a slotted spoon. A slotted spoon has these holes in it. Some of them might have little slots in the side that go like this. What that's going to do is that's going to let all the liquid fall out when we're scooping the eggs out of the water. So now we can begin following our directions. Step 1 says place the eggs into a pot. Now, I'm not just going to drop these in here because that'll break the eggs. I'm going to gently set these eggs in the bottom. And you can kind of see there's a little crack, not a crack, more of like a little ditch for the eggs on the outside of the pot. And they'll sit right inside there so they don't roll around as much. The next thing we're going to do, we are going to fill this pot with water. So again, I said I'm going to use my sink for the water. I am going to bring my pot over here. And we want this to be about 1 inch above the eggs. So there's going to be about that much water over the top of the egg. So I'm just going to make sure that these eggs are completely covered. It doesn't matter if you use cold water, warm water, hot water, because you're eventually going to boil the water anyways. Okay, now I want you to take a look at this before I fill it up all the way. You can still see that the egg is poking out of the water a little bit. That means there is not enough water in your pot. You want these eggs to be completely submerged underwater, so it needs to look a little more like that. Stick my finger in there. Let's see, I've got about 1 inch above the eggs. Very careful walking across your kitchen floor. Don't slip. Okay. Step 3 says add a pinch of salt. So I'm going to get my salt. And this is a little different from other salt shakers. This one you have to turn the top. So I'm just going to turn it 1 time into the water. Now if you have salt at home that you want to use that's different from this, you can stick your finger in there and actually get a pinch and just sprinkle it into the water. You don't need a whole lot of salt to make hard-boiled eggs. Now, I'm going to bring this to a rapid boil over a medium-high heat. So when we did scrambled eggs, we did a medium-low heat. We were in between 3 and 4. So on this stove, a medium to high heat setting is going to be about a 7. So I'm going to set this to a 7 and wait for this to boil. Now, something important to keep in mind is that not everybody has the same oven or the same stove at home. So if you're struggling with finding the perfect temperature, ask somebody, call or text your parents if they're not too busy, or if they're at home with you, feel free to ask them, just so you're making sure that you have the right temperature. Because like I said, not everybody's stove is the same and the settings might be a little different. So the reason we set ours to a medium-high heat is because we're going to want to bring this water to a boil. Now, right now it has little tiny bubbles starting to pop up and hit the top of the water. This means that it's starting to simmer. Now we don't want it to be a simmer, we want it to be a rapid boil. So think about like when you're in a hot tub or a jacuzzi and all the bubbles are flying up around you. That's what it's going to look like inside here. It's going to look really hot and it's going to be really bubbly. So once it starts bubbling and boiling, we're going to have our eggs in there for 2 minutes. Alright, so right now you can see this is still at a simmer, but it's starting to get to that boiling point. So in the next few minutes we should start seeing some bigger bubbles come up around the eggs. And then that way we'll know our water is boiling. So let's give it a few more minutes and then we will check on it again. Okay, so now we have our eggs at a boil. You can see that there's a lot of bubbles around here. So we're going to boil our eggs for 2 minutes. So I'm going to use the timer here on the stove. Set it for 2 minutes and I'm going to hit start. You can use your phone as a timer, you can use the microwave as a timer, you can use a stopwatch. Whatever you have to keep track of time is fine, but we're going to let these cook for 2 minutes and then we're going to remove them from the heat. Okay, so we have 5 seconds left. When this timer goes off, I'm going to turn the timer off. I'm going to turn my stove off and I'm going to remove these eggs from the heat and set them back here. I want to cover my eggs with a lid and let them sit for about 10 to 15 minutes and cool down a little bit. So again, I'm going to use my timer. And set it for 15 minutes just to be on the safe side. And then I'm just going to let my eggs sit and come back to them when the timer goes off. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left for our eggs to stay in the hot water. While that's happening, I'm going to fill my other bowl up with ice and water. So I'm going to get my ice from the freezer. And you just want to do a couple handfuls just to make sure you have enough ice. That right there should be enough ice. And then I'm going to fill this up again with enough water that it's going to be able to cover the eggs, just like we did with our hot water. Okay. I always like to make sure I have more than enough water. I'm going to bring this over here. We've got about 38 seconds left. When that timer goes off, I'm going to turn the timer off and I'm going to transfer my eggs from the hot water to the ice water. Our buddy Peanut's here too, hanging out with us today. Alright, so we've got about 24 seconds. Get my slotted spoon ready. If you're just sitting here waiting patiently, you can sing a song, you can tap your foot, whatever you like to do. Alright, so we've got 4 seconds left. When this goes off, I'm going to turn it off. Okay, turn that off. I'm going to remove my lid. And carefully, remember, you can see steam coming off of this. This is still going to be hot. I'm going to use my slotted spoon. See how all that water comes out of the slotted spoon on the bottom? And I'm going to transfer this egg over to the ice water and gently set it on the bottom. Again, you can see all the water draining out of the bottom. And I'm gently moving this one here. And now we are going to let these eggs sit for about 3 minutes. So again, I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes, start it. And since I'm waiting for these eggs to cool down a little bit, I can start getting my equipment over to the sink so that it can be washed for later. So I'm just going to kind of start gathering things, putting things away, like the ice, because the ice will melt if you let it sit out for too long. Alright. Okay, so our timer is gone off. I'm going to turn that off. Now our eggs have been cooling for 3 minutes, and this is the part where we get to take them out, peel off the shell, and eat them. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm still using my slotted spoon to remove these from the water so that not a lot of water comes with it onto the plate. Alright, now the best way to crack these, it's very, very similar to how you crack an egg when you are baking or using it for another recipe, like we did with scrambled eggs. You just want to kind of gently smash it, and you see how it's starting to peel a little bit. You'll be able to peel the shell off of your egg just like this. Make sure you get all of the shell off of the egg before you try to eat it. Otherwise, you'll have a crunch that won't taste good. Okay. Now, the beautiful thing about hard-boiled eggs is you can put these on a salad. You can cool them down and save them for later, put them on a salad. You can use them for deviled eggs, or you can just bite right into them and eat them. That's what the inside of a hard-boiled egg should look like. Thanks for stopping by today, guys. I'll see you next week.